Hey folks, Mr. Garten here. I'm just doing a quick recap of Lesson 9, which is all about literary terms. In order to get started, you're going to want to open up a few things. The first being the literary terms Prezi that's linked a few slides later. It looks like this. And then you might also want to have your short story collection out and open for help with you on today's reading check or to read through after you take the reading check. As I mentioned, first goal is going to be a check for understanding over the short story that you read before today's lesson. And then we're also going to work on identifying literary terms based on definition, which is a fancy Mr. Garten way of saying that you're taking notes. You need your Chromebook internet access, the tabs I mentioned earlier, and your writer's notebook. To get started, we go over poetry concepts, and this lesson's poetry concept is quatrain. So you can see from the prefix there that it has something to do with the number 4. And it actually is a poem consisting of 4 lines of verse, and it has a specific rhyming scheme. It can be a number of different rhyme schemes, but for today's lesson, we're focusing on A, B, A, B, which means that the first and third lines rhyme with each other, and the second and fourth lines rhyme with each other. Oftentimes in a quatrain, the lines each have the same number of syllables, although if it's off by a syllable or 2, that's okay. It still qualifies as a quatrain. Here's an example from The Butterfly Pendant by Marie Summers. She says, "A butterfly pendant of golden blue sparkled with beauty in the blazing sun. No matter if it were broken or new, its breathlessness could not be outdone." So you'll notice that there is the rhyme scheme blue and new in the first and third lines rhyme, and sun and outdone in the second and fourth lines rhyme. We've also got 4 lines total here, and if you count them up, you'll notice that each line has 10 syllables, except for the last one. Its breathlessness could not be outdone is only 9 syllables, but it still qualifies as a quatrain because it's within a syllable or 2. So now create your own quatrain in the writing section of your notebook. Remember, it needs to be 4 lines long. It needs to have that A-B rhyme scheme we just talked about. Try to keep the syllables as close to even as possible in each line. And other than that, you can be as creative as you like. Once you've got that done, you can move on to independent work time. So in independent work time, you're going to want to go to the notes section of your notebook. You've taken a few short notes already, but this is going to be a longer session of note taking. You're going to want to open up that Prezi. And in order to do that, once you go to the link, you're going to go over to this image on the right and click play. It might take a few seconds to load up, but once it does load up, you can click through the presentation pretty fast and just write down what needs to be written down and write it in your own words. So the importance of note-taking is not to get everything down in your own words. It is to process through what each definition is and write it in your own distinct words rather than what's on the Prezi. So for example, when I write down plot, I might write the sequence of events in a story rather than the sequence of events in a play, novel, or similar work. And then I'll move on to the next slide, which is the exposition. Now you see the language on here, the exact definition of exposition. For my purposes, I'm just going to write exposition equals introduction. Arrow, setting, / characters. That's my shorthand for basically what it says up here in exposition. And then I'll do the same thing for rising action. So I might write down a related series of incidents build toward the point of greatest interest, or I might just say incidents that lead toward the, if you already know, climax. And if you don't know climax, make sure that you write down this definition. And then we've got the falling action, which you can condense into your own words. And then the resolution. So as you click through these, again, write these in your own words, not word for word from what you see on the screen. I move on. This is your self-directed time, so go through the entire Prezi on your own. Make sure that it's recorded in your notebook. And then there are included example videos for some of the terms. You do not need to watch those unless you need further understanding on what that concept means. Once you're all done, it's time for a reading check. So there are some links right here to the short stories. You read one of these before today's class. If you click on the link, there is a 5-question reading check. This is not for a grade. This is just to help you understand if you understand. So if you score poorly, you might want to go through and read through the story again. So if you get a 1 out of 5 or a 2 out of 5 or a 3 out of 5 even, you might want to go back and give it another look before lesson 10. If you got a 4 out of 5 or a 5 out of 5, then you probably understand the story pretty well. Once you've completed the reading check, go back and finish up your literary term notes. Once you've recorded all of the literary term notes, add a slide to your digital notebook and include pictures of that notes section within it. Then you're all done. You can fill out the exit ticket. Once you're done with the exit ticket, just make sure that you're still reading 20 to 30 minutes each day in your independent reading book, and that you're jotting to track for those things that we talked about the other day: character, setting, any sort of craft moves, and anything that stands out to you. And that's all.